Moskowitz didn't walk into that hearing to argue over policy. He walked in ready to call out something so strange, so unexpected, that the entire room shifted. Because in a place where lawmakers debate budgets, national security, and investigations that shape the country, somehow they were suddenly arguing about a doodle. And the moment he opened his mouth, everyone realized this wasn't going to be a normal hearing. It wasn't about left or right. It wasn't about strategy. It was about a question nobody ever imagined Congress would spend time on. Was a 22-year-old signature real?
Because, of course, he didn't find any evidence. So this morning, our close personal friend, Mr. Comer, said that he was not going to look into the letter or the doodle, the president's doodle. He's a decent doodler, by the way. So he wasn't going to look into whether the signature was a forgery, and I'm concerned about that. Because this is the President of the United States. If there are forgeries or forgers out there, I think we should investigate it. And in fact, this document is 22 years old. So you're telling me someone 22 years ago went back to the future and forged his signature when he was a Democrat. And somehow this person was Nostradamus, knew he would become a Republican, become president 22 years later. So listen, I submit to you that we can solve this problem for the American people. You don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take our dear personal friend, Mr. Comer's word for it. Let's bring in a signature expert. You guys pick the witnesses. Bring in your signature experts, swear them under oath, and let's have the signature examined. Is it his or it is not his? We don't have to play games or the president says it's not his, we say it's him. No, let's bring in a signature expert, a referee, because we can't agree on anything, even when it's right in our face, of whether that is indeed the president's signature, or if it's a forgery, we should immediately open up an investigation into this forgery. I think that's...
Will the gentleman yield for question?
I will have absolutely yield to my esteemed ranking member, Mr. Raskin.
Well, thank you, Mr. Moskowitz, for this point. I know that the President of the United States brought a $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal for reporting about the existence of this. He denied that it existed in any way. What is the state of that litigation? I think, wouldn't we want that resolved before we move to a handwriting expert?
Oh, sure. I mean, I assume there will be, obviously, depositions that get taken. I assume there will be production of documents. I assume as that case goes forward, they too will bring in their own expert to say it is not him. I just think, because we're in the middle of this investigation in oversight, even though, of course, this committee has jurisdiction over the DOJ and the FBI, but we all know that our chairman obviously only wants to handle, the real stuff. We give everything else to Comer. And so, I just think that rather than this drag out for weeks or months, is it his? Is it not his? Does he like to draw? Doesn't he like to draw? Right? Like, let's just get an expert in here to tell us if, and I'll tell you right now, if you bring in an expert, you pick the expert, you swear him up. If that expert tells us it's not his signature, I will accept the results. I will absolutely accept the results that it's not his signature and it is absolutely a forgery. But I'm willing to bet that we won't do that. I'm willing to bet we won't do that. But prove me wrong. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, someone yields back.
Or was it a forgery that traveled through time? And the way he unpacked it had the entire room stunned. He started by pointing out the obvious contradiction. Investigators had already gone through everything and claimed they found nothing suspicious. Case closed, right? Except not really. Because that's when, as Moskowitz put it, our close personal friend Mr. Comer announced he wasn't going to examine the letter at all. Not the doodle attached to it, not the signature, not even the possibility that someone faked it. And Moskowitz couldn't help himself. He joked that, sure, the signature looked like a doodle, but the man behind it was at least a decent doodler. He kept it light, but underneath the sarcasm, he was pointing at something deeper. If there is a forgery involving one of the most powerful individuals in the country, doesn't someone need to look into it? That's when he dropped the first bombshell. The document everyone was arguing about wasn't recent. It wasn't from a few months ago. It was 22 years old. 2 decades. So if the signature was fake, then somebody would have had to forge it long before anyone could have predicted where the signer's career would go. That's where Moskowitz leaned into the absurdity. So you're telling me someone 22 years ago went back to the future and forged his signature when he was a Democrat? And somehow this person was Nostradamus and knew he would switch parties and become president later. The committee room knew exactly what he was doing, using humor to point out how ridiculous the denial sounded, because either the signature was real or someone had superhuman foresight. But instead of letting the issue devolve into back-and-forth accusations, Moskowitz offered a solution so simple that it almost embarrassed the committee: bring in a signature expert. Not a partisan figure. Not a political ally. Not someone tied to either side of the investigation. A neutral, sworn-in handwriting professional. You guys pick the witnesses, he said. Bring in your signature expert, swear them under oath, and let's have the signature examined. Is it his or is it not? No drama. No speculation. No pretending. Just facts determined by someone qualified to interpret them. The idea was so straightforward that it stunned the room. Because if the majority was convinced the signature wasn't real, why not prove it? And if the minority insisted it was real, why not confirm it? But before Moskowitz even finished laying out this uncomplicated plan, everyone sensed the hesitation across the aisle. Because in Washington, the simplest answers are often the least convenient. When facts threaten a favored narrative, clarity suddenly becomes optional. Then things escalated. Moskowitz said openly that the committee didn't need to play games or argue endlessly about what seemed obvious. He pointed out that they didn't even need to rely on each other's claims anymore. Not his, not theirs. Let's bring in a referee, he said. Not metaphorically. Literally. A handwriting expert who could end the debate instantly. And he promised publicly on the record that if the expert determined the signature wasn't real, he would accept that outcome, no spin, no denial, no second guessing. And that's when Raskin jumped in. He didn't interrupt to derail things. He interrupted to raise the stakes. Calmly, almost too calmly, he reminded the room of something massive. The signer of that document had filed a $10 billion lawsuit, yes, billion, against the Wall Street Journal over reporting about that very signature. A lawsuit that hinged on the claim that the document never existed, that the signature was false, that the publication had fabricated the story entirely. And now here was Congress debating the very same thing. Raskin's question was simple but brutal. What is the state of that litigation? Because if a multibillion-dollar lawsuit is still in motion, and the court hasn't ruled yet, then bringing in a handwriting expert could blow that entire case open. Depositions would start. Document discovery would begin. Both sides would be forced to turn over every scrap of evidence related to the signature. And as Moskowitz pointed out, the other side would absolutely bring in their own experts too. Suddenly, the doodle wasn't just a doodle, it could become legal evidence. And that was the moment everything shifted. Moskowitz acknowledged the point. He knew the lawsuit complicated things. But he also made something very clear. This committee wasn't dealing with the lawsuit. They were supposed to be dealing with oversight. They had the authority and responsibility to get answers. It didn't matter that the case might still be unfolding elsewhere. It didn't matter that depositions, hearings, or evidence reviews might take years. What mattered is that Congress couldn't even agree on whether a drawing with a signature on it should be examined. That's when he went after something the room had been dancing around: jurisdiction. Oversight was supposed to handle the Department of Justice and the FBI, two institutions central to this issue. Yet somehow the chairman only wanted to deal with certain parts of the investigation while leaving the rest, as Moskowitz joked, to Comer. His point wasn't subtle. The committee wasn't avoiding the signature because they lacked authority. They were avoiding it because they didn't want the answer. Then he said the part that made everyone stop. If the majority brought in a handwriting expert of their own choosing, someone they trusted, someone they vetted, he would accept the results even if the expert contradicted everything he believed. He said it plainly, repeated it slowly. There was no loophole, no qualifiers, no wiggle room. If the expert said the signature wasn't real, he would stand by that ruling. But then he delivered the line that told the whole story. I'm willing to bet that we won't do that. But prove me wrong. And that's when the hearing's real theme came into focus. This wasn't actually about a doodle. It wasn't about the signature. It wasn't even about the lawsuit. It was about whether Congress was capable of agreeing on a basic fact. Something so simple that an independent handwriting expert could answer it in 20 minutes. Yet both sides seemed reluctant, not because they didn't want the truth, but because they feared what the truth might do to their political ammunition. The room felt it too. The tension wasn't anger, it was resignation. Everyone knew that Moskowitz was challenging the committee to rise above the usual partisan theater, to do something rare. Accept a result even if it didn't benefit them. But Washington doesn't work that way. Certainty eliminates talking points. Answers remove ambiguity. And ambiguity is where political stories thrive. As he wrapped up, Moskowitz made one final point, quiet but sharp. The American people didn't need more drama. They didn't need more speculation or more statements from each side contradicting each other. They needed clarity. And Congress could provide that clarity with a single expert witness. A simple sworn examination of a decades-old signature that had somehow become a modern political earthquake. Then he yielded back, leaving the room to sit with the reality he'd spelled out. If Congress couldn't agree on analyzing a doodle, how could it ever tackle the issues that actually mattered? And that's the irony of this hearing. Everyone walked in thinking the debate was too silly to take seriously. But by the time it ended, the silly thing revealed the serious problem, that facts no longer settle debates. That even a signature can turn into a battlefield. That the truth isn't the goal anymore, the narrative is. The doodle was just the symbol. The real conflict was trust. So as you watch exchanges like this unfold, remember, when lawmakers can't agree on what's right in front of them, it's not because the issue is complicated. It's because certainty has consequences. And uncertainty is useful. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into the hearings, confrontations, and investigations shaping the headlines, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. There's a lot more coming, and you won't want to miss what happens next.